For the longest time, many schools have been using survey results as a way to measure their goals. But the question is that reliable? Now, if that question has been on your mind, and if you want to know how to refine and perhaps improve in the indicators that you have and make them more reliable, then this video it's for you. So in this video itself, we want to do a quick recap of what exactly constitute a good KPI. And so when we talk about a good KPI, we are looking at these two criteria. If you haven't reviewed the previous video on the validity, please go ahead and do that because you need that before you come into this second criterion. Now, the second criterion of reliability is a crucial one because if your indicators are not able to stand up to scrutiny, then what it means is that you might be collecting data that are incomplete or not accurate or doesn't give you a good representation of where you are at. And that could be risky. And so this criteria essentially is to help you refine and make sure that your indicators are reliable and it stands up to scrutiny. So how do we go about doing that? Now, let's take a look at an example of an indicator, a goal, and the indicators so that you get a better idea. So let's say what we want is we want competent staff, right? We all want our staff to be competent and to be able to effectively carry out the strategies in the classroom to be able to teach effectively. That's what we all want. And so, in order to get there, as the school staff developer, what you would be looking at is, what kind of programs can I mount to equip my teachers with the necessary set of skills. And so at one level, you'll be asking about all the different type of training that you can, introduce into the school. And so this could be seen as from the system perspective. Now, if you recall, in a previous video, we talked about the staff resource plan being that conduit between your school goal and your staff system. Now, this is where we're talking about here, where we talk about system perspective. So your systems and processes is what is going to help you get to your end goal, right? And so this is where you say that, well, in order to help my teachers to become competent, I need to put in place a series of learning programs for them. And this is where you could measure from the system perspective by looking at a KPI, for example, provision of opportunities for staff learning and development. Now, the question I have for you is that if you use this as your sole KPI, as the only KPI to measure competency, would this be reliable? And the answer, of course, is no. Why is it not reliable? Because you and I know that you can send people for training, but that does not make them a competent person, at least not yet, right? And so, in addition to measuring, providing opportunities for learning for our staff, we also want to be able to measure from the staff perspective. And from the staff perspective, essentially what we're looking at is that, okay, you have attended those training. Are you able to implement it in your classroom? So just like, right, you have watched all these videos and you have attended my sessions. Now, are you able to actually go back to school and start implementing all these things for your staff resource planning process? Right? So you may have come for the class, but that doesn't make you competent, at least not yet. So you need to go through a series of activities and exercises before you are able to say that, yes, now I'm able to apply all that I've learned into my work. Now, would that in and of itself be highly reliable? To a certain extent, yes, because if all we are concerned about is that if I send you for this training, and when you come back, are you able to execute? Are you able to do this? And if you are able to do this, then that means that you are competent. But we all know that in a school context, that is not sufficient because, you know, having the teachers being able to implement certain strategies in the classroom, that is not the be all and end all. That, if anything, is a means to an end. And so the means to an end is that teachers are able to implement. And so we want to look at percentage of staff able to apply their learning in the classroom, right? And here, obviously, what we want to see is ideally we want to see a large majority of our teachers, or if not everyone. And so once we are able to have them implement that in the classroom, a way to ascertain if they are implementing it correctly or our strategies are right in the first place, what we want to look at is that does it make an impact on the student? And this is where we want to look at from the student perspective. Did it actually, make an impact on a student, and did the student develop that certain set of abilities and interests that is a result of what the teachers have done in the classroom? And of course, once you have a good majority of your students being able to achieve that goal, then of course it will have an impact at the school level, right? And this is where we have the school perspective when you look at school goals attainment at school, zone, or national level. So the point I want to make here is that when you're looking at KPIs, you are not just looking at your staff trust alone. You are looking at the KPIs in your staff trust, but you also want to make the connection with the KPIs in the other thrust, because this is where you are able to say that, well, I have fulfilled my role as an SSD to develop my teachers with those skill sets, and those skill sets must then be able to translate into positive impact on the students, and collectively that should make an impact at the school level, right? And so if you have all this series of indicators at the different multiple perspective, this is where you need to have this is where you have a reliable indicator. Now, the question that you might have is that does that mean that in my staff trust, in my staff resource plan, I need to have staff goals, system goals, staff KPIs, system KPIs, school KPIs, as well as student KPIs? The answer is no. What you want to do in your staff trust is you just want to look at staff and system perspective. But what you also want to do is to make that link between your staff KPIs as well as linking it to the school KPI as well as the students KPI. So have a look at your current set of staff KPIs and ask yourself, do they satisfy the reliability criterion? And if for some reason your answer is no, then go ahead and find out what are the various perspectives that you can bring in so that it will make your KPI more robust and ability to withstand scrutiny itself. In the next video, we will look at some examples, and that would give you even greater clarity on some KPIs and how to write them.